Marcus Rivera had fixed every engine that rolled into his garage on the outskirts of Phoenix. Diesel trucks, sports cars, even that old Volkswagen van held together with duct tape and prayers. But nothing had prepared him for what he couldn't fix. His son Diego wasn't responding to treatment. Not to the specialists. Not to the experimental therapy. Not to the miracle drug that cost more than Marcus made in 5 years. Then a homeless woman with calloused hands and dirt under her fingernails walked into Phoenix Children's Hospital and whispered 7 words that changed everything. "I know how to heal your boy." If you've ever felt helpless watching someone you love suffer, you need to hear this story. Hit that subscribe button because this isn't just about one father's faith. It's about discovering the power we all have to heal each other. The morning Diego stopped walking, Marcus thought it was just a twisted ankle from soccer practice. Kids get hurt. They bounce back. That's what kids do. But Diego didn't bounce back. The limp got worse. Then came the pain that made his 12-year-old son cry in his sleep. The kind of pain that no amount of ibuprofen could touch. Dr. Sarah Chen delivered the diagnosis in a sterile conference room that smelled like industrial cleaner and broken dreams. "Juvenile dermatomyositis," she said, the words falling like stones. "It's rare. His immune system is attacking his muscles." Marcus stared at the medical charts covered in numbers that might as well have been hieroglyphics. "Can you fix it?" "We can try to manage it. Steroids, immunosuppressants, physical therapy." "But Marcus," Dr. Chin's voice softened, "some kids don't respond to treatment. Some kids don't respond." Marcus was a man who fixed things. He'd rebuilt engines from scrap metal. He'd welded cracked frames back together. He'd taken apart motorcycles and put them back together blindfolded. But he couldn't fix his son. The garage on Camelback Road had been Marcus's sanctuary for 15 years. Rivera Auto Repair, where honest work met fair prices, where neighbors became family and strangers left as friends. Now it felt like a tomb. Diego used to spend afternoons there, handing Marcus tools and asking endless questions. "Why does the carburetor do that, Dad? What happens if you don't change the oil? Can we rebuild the engine in Mrs. Patterson's truck?" Now Diego couldn't climb the stairs to Marcus's apartment above the garage. The muscle weakness had spread from his legs to his arms. Some mornings, Marcus had to carry his son to the bathroom. "I'm sorry, Dad," Diego whispered one afternoon, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry I'm broken." Marcus knelt beside his son's bed, the one they'd moved to the living room because Diego couldn't make it upstairs anymore. "You're not broken, mijo. You're just going through something tough right now." But inside, Marcus was screaming. The steroids made Diego's face puffy and his mood unpredictable. The immunosuppressants made him susceptible to every cold, every flu, every bug that walked through the door. Marcus closed the garage early most days to drive Diego to appointments. Physical therapy on Mondays. Blood draws on Wednesdays. Specialist consultations that led nowhere. The bills piled up like accusations. Insurance covered some of it. The rest came out of Marcus's savings, then his retirement fund, then the emergency loan against the garage. "We need to consider more aggressive treatment," Dr. Chen said during their 4th month of watching Diego get worse instead of better. "There's a new therapy in clinical trials. It's experimental, but it's showing promise." Marcus leaned forward. "What kind of promise?" 60% of participants showed improvement. "But Marcus, it's expensive. Even with insurance, we're looking at $40,000 out of pocket." $40,000. Marcus made decent money, but he wasn't rich. He drove a 10-year-old pickup truck held together with hope and good intentions. He bought his clothes at thrift stores and cut his own hair. But for Diego, he'd sell everything. "I'll find the money," Marcus said. That's when Vincent Ashford entered the picture. Ashford owned half the commercial real estate in Phoenix: shopping centers, office buildings, medical complexes. He'd heard about Diego's case through his connections at the hospital. He arrived at the garage on a Tuesday afternoon in a black Tesla that cost more than most people made in 2 years. Tailored suit, Italian leather shoes, and a smile that never reached his eyes. "Mr. Rivera," Ashford said, stepping carefully around the oil stains on the concrete floor. "I understand you're facing some challenges with your son's medical care." Marcus wiped his hands on a rag, leaving dark smears. "What's it to you?" "I'm a businessman, Mr. Rivera. I solve problems. Your son needs expensive treatment. I have expensive resources. Perhaps we can reach an arrangement." The arrangement was simple. Ashford would pay for Diego's experimental therapy. All of it. No questions asked, no repayment required. In exchange, Marcus would sell him the garage and the land it sat on for a fraction of its value. "This neighborhood is developing," Ashford explained, gesturing toward the new condos going up across the street. "Your property has potential. I'm offering you enough to cover your son's treatment and leave you with a fresh start." A fresh start, as if 15 years of building a business from nothing could be erased with a signature. "What happens to my customers?" Marcus asked. Ashford shrugged. "They'll find another mechanic. The market adapts." That night, Marcus sat in Diego's room, watching his son sleep. The boy's breathing was shallow, labored. His thin arms lay outside the covers, pale and fragile. "Dad?" Diego's voice was barely a whisper. "Are you okay?" Marcus forced a smile. "I'm fine, mijo. Just thinking." "About the garage?" "Kids heard everything, even when you thought they weren't listening." "A little." Diego turned his head, brown eyes serious beyond his 12 years. "I don't want you to sell it because of me." "Hey," Marcus said, taking his son's hand. "That garage is just a building. You're my son. There's no contest." Diego squeezed his father's hand with what little strength he had left. "But it's your dream." The experimental therapy started the following Monday. Diego spent 3 days a week hooked up to 4 lines, receiving infusions of medications with names Marcus couldn't pronounce. The side effects were brutal: nausea, headaches, fatigue that made Diego sleep 16 hours a day. But Dr. Chen was optimistic. "His inflammation markers are improving," she said after the second week. "This is encouraging." Encouraging. Marcus had signed the papers with Ashford. The garage would be his for 6 more months, long enough to finish the treatment and find a new location. Maybe something smaller. Maybe something on the other side of town where the rent was cheaper. But after a month of treatment, Diego wasn't getting better. The blood work looked good on paper, but the kid still couldn't walk across the room without help. "Sometimes it takes time," Dr. Chen explained. "The therapy works differently for different patients." After 2 months, Diego was worse. The muscle weakness had spread to his throat, making it hard to swallow, hard to speak clearly. "We need to consider other options," Dr. Chen said. "Other options? More experiments, more hope sold by the hour." Marcus was losing faith in doctors, in medicine, in the whole system that promised miracles and delivered bills. That's when she appeared. If you've ever questioned whether science has all the answers, you're about to discover something that will change how you see healing forever. Make sure you're subscribed because this story is about to take a turn that doctors can't explain. Her name was Elena Vasquez, and she looked like she'd been living rough for years. Gray hair tied back with a rubber band, clothes that had seen better decades, hands that told stories of hard work and harder times. She was sitting in the hospital cafeteria when Marcus grabbed coffee during one of Diego's long infusion sessions. She looked up from her own cup, black coffee in a paper cup she'd probably refilled 3 times, and smiled. Your boy's on the third floor, she said. It wasn't a question. Marcus stopped walking. Excuse me? Diego. Room 314. The one with the muscle thing. Security cameras. Overheard conversations. Hospital gossip. There were a dozen ways a homeless woman might know about his son. But something in her eyes made Marcus sit down. How do you know about my son? Elena sipped her coffee. I know lots of things. I know his medicine isn't working. I know you sold your garage to pay for it. I know you're scared. Marcus felt cold. Who are you? I'm someone who's been where you are. Not with the muscle thing, but with the fear, the helplessness, the watching someone you love slip away while the smart people in white coats shake their heads and talk about trying other options. She leaned forward. I'm someone who learned that healing doesn't always come from a bottle. Look, lady, I appreciate the sympathy, but my son needs real medical care, not folk remedies or whatever you're selling. Elena nodded. You're right. He does need real healing. But real healing isn't always what you think it is. She reached into a canvas bag beside her chair and pulled out a small notebook, worn at the edges. May I tell you a story? Marcus glanced at his watch. Diego's infusion had another hour to run. I guess. My grandson Manuel was about your boy's age when he got sick. Different sickness, same fear. The doctors tried everything. Surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. Nothing worked. Elena's voice stayed steady, but Marcus saw her hands tremble slightly around the coffee cup. I spent nights in hospital waiting rooms, just like you, praying to a God I wasn't sure was listening, watching my grandson disappear a little more each day. What happened? The doctor said we were out of options, sent him home with hospice care, told us to make him comfortable. Elena opened the notebook, revealing pages filled with handwritten notes in Spanish and English. That's when I remembered something my grandmother used to say. The body knows how to heal itself. Sometimes it just forgets how. Marcus shifted in his chair. Ma'am, I don't mean to be rude, but I started doing something the doctors never tried, Elena continued. I started talking to Manuel's body, not to him, but to his body, telling it what it needed to do, reminding it how to be strong. That's not how medicine works. Elena smiled. You're right. It's not how medicine works, but it's how healing works. She flipped through the notebook, showing Marcus pages of notes. Every day for 3 months, I sat with Manuel and talked to his body. I reminded his immune system what its job was. I told his cells how to repair themselves. I described what healthy looked like. And he got better. Not overnight. Not like in the movies. But slowly, steadily, he got better. The doctors called it spontaneous remission. I called it remembering. Marcus stared at the notebook. You want me to talk to my son's muscles? I want you to help your son remember what healthy feels like. The medicine is trying to fix what's broken, but sometimes healing means helping the body remember what it's supposed to do. Elena tore a page from the notebook and handed it to Marcus. It was covered in neat handwriting, but not in any language he recognized. What is this? It's a healing script. Words that help the body remember. It's been in my family for generations. My grandmother taught it to me. I'm teaching it to you. Marcus looked at the paper, then at Elena. You want me to read these words to my son? I want you to read them to his body, to his muscles, to his immune system, with belief, with love, with the same faith you put in those doctors and their medicines. This is crazy. Elena stood up, gathering her things. So is spending $40,000 on experimental drugs that aren't working. So is watching your son waste away while you wait for someone else to save him. She paused at the edge of the table. Your boy is stronger than his sickness. He just needs to remember how strong he is. Sometimes that memory comes through medicine. Sometimes it comes through love. Sometimes it comes through words that help the body remember what it's supposed to do. Why are you helping me? Elena's eyes filled with tears. Because I couldn't help my grandson alone. Because healing is meant to be shared. Because sometimes the medicine that works isn't the medicine they sell in bottles. She walked away, leaving Marcus alone with a piece of paper covered in words he didn't understand and a choice he never wanted to make. Have you ever had to choose between conventional wisdom and something that felt impossible but true? Stay with me because Marcus is about to discover that sometimes the most powerful medicine can't be prescribed. Marcus stared at the paper for 3 days before he did anything with it. He researched Elena Vasquez, found her story in old newspaper archives. Her grandson Manuel had indeed recovered from what doctors called terminal cancer. The articles mentioned unexplained remission and factors beyond current medical understanding. He found Elena herself outside the hospital on Thursday morning, sitting on a bench feeding pigeons from a bag of stale bread. You came back, she said without looking up. I need to understand what these words mean. Elena patted the bench beside her. Sit. I'll teach you. The words weren't in any single language. They were a mixture of Spanish, English, and something older. Something that Elena's grandmother had learned from her grandmother, passed down through generations of women who healed with words and touch and unshakable faith. It's not about the words themselves, Elena explained. It's about the intention behind them, the belief that healing is possible, the love that carries the message. How do I know if I'm doing it right? You'll know. The body responds to love. It responds to belief. It responds to someone who refuses to give up. That night, Marcus sat beside Diego's bed with the paper in his hands. His son was sleeping, breathing shallow and difficult. The latest blood work showed the experimental therapy still wasn't working. Marcus felt foolish. He felt desperate. He felt like a man who'd run out of conventional options and was grasping at impossible straws. But he also felt something else, something that had been missing from the sterile hospital rooms and the meetings with specialists and the endless discussions of treatment protocols. Hope. He started reading the words Elena had written, slowly, carefully, with the same attention he'd give to a complex engine repair manual. Your muscles remember what it means to be strong, he whispered to Diego's sleeping form. Your immune system remembers how to protect you. Your body remembers how to heal itself. Diego didn't stir. The monitors continued their steady beeping. Nothing changed, but Marcus kept reading. You are stronger than this sickness. You are healing. You are remembering what healthy feels like. Night after night, Marcus sat beside his son's bed and read Elena's words. He felt stupid at first, then desperate. Then something shifted. The words began to feel less like nonsense and more like prayer, less like false hope and more like truth he'd forgotten how to speak. Your muscles are remembering how to move. Your strength is returning. Your body is healing itself. Diego's breathing seemed easier. Maybe it was wishful thinking. Maybe it was the power of suggestion. But Marcus kept reading. After 2 weeks, Diego opened his eyes during one of Marcus's midnight sessions. Dad, what are you doing? Marcus closed the notebook. Just talking to you, mijo. It sounds like you're talking to my body. Maybe I am. Is that weird? Diego smiled, the first real smile Marcus had seen in months. Everything about this is weird, Dad, but I like it. It makes me feel, I don't know, like I'm not just sick, like I'm someone who's getting better. Are you getting better? Diego moved his arm, lifting it higher than he'd been able to lift it in weeks. I think so. I think my body is remembering something. The next day, Dr. Chen ran tests. Diego's inflammation markers were improving. His muscle function tests showed measurable progress. I'm not sure what's changed, Dr. Chen admitted. But whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Marcus looked at Elena's notebook, tucked discreetly in his jacket pocket. We will. Within a month, Diego was walking again. Short distances at first, then longer ones. His voice grew stronger. His appetite returned. The experimental therapy was working, Dr. Chen said. Finally working. But Marcus knew better. The therapy was the same. The dosage was the same. The only thing that had changed was the nightly ritual of reading Elena's words to Diego's body. Your muscles remember their strength. Your immune system remembers its purpose. Your body remembers what healthy feels like. Diego started joining the sessions, learning the words himself. I can feel it, he told Marcus one night. When you read those words, I can feel my body listening. You can feel your body listening? It's like when someone reminds you of something you already knew but had forgotten. My muscles remember how to be strong. They just needed someone to remind them. Vincent Ashford came by the garage on a Tuesday afternoon, 6 weeks after Diego's recovery began. He looked at the papers Marcus had signed, then at Marcus himself. I understand your son is doing better, Ashford said. He is. The experimental therapy worked. Marcus nodded. Something worked. Ashford pulled out a contract. I'm prepared to offer you an extension on our agreement. Another 6 months before the sale needs to be finalized, given the circumstances. Marcus looked at the contract, then at his garage, at the tools he'd accumulated over 15 years, at the workbenches where he taught Diego the difference between a Phillips head and a flathead screwdriver. What if I don't want to sell? Mr. Rivera, we have an agreement. Your son's medical bills are being paid by you, as agreed. Marcus folded the contract and handed it back. But I've been thinking about our arrangement, about what's fair. Ashford's smile never wavered, but something cold flickered in his eyes. Fair is what we agreed to. Fair is what serves everyone involved. You want to develop this land. I want to keep my business. My customers want their mechanic. Maybe there's a solution that works for everyone. Such as? Marcus had been thinking about this for weeks. A partnership. You develop the land around the garage. I modernize the business. We both benefit from the increased traffic and visibility. And if I prefer our original arrangement? Then we stick to our original arrangement. But I think you'll find a successful partnership more profitable than a forced sale. Ashford studied Marcus for a long moment. Your son's recovery has made you bold, Mr. Rivera. My son's recovery has reminded me that healing isn't always about fixing what's broken. Sometimes it's about remembering what was always there. If you've ever wondered whether you have more power than you realize, whether healing might be simpler than we've been taught, this story is about to show you something that will change how you see possibility itself. Word spread through the neighborhood about Diego's recovery. Not the medical details, but the human story. The mechanic who wouldn't give up. The son who remembered how to be strong. People started coming to the garage not just for car repairs, but for conversation, for hope, for the feeling that miracles were possible in ordinary places. Mrs. Patterson, whose ancient pickup truck Marcus had kept running for years, brought her granddaughter, Sarah. The girl had been struggling with anxiety attacks since her parents' divorce. I heard about Diego, Mrs. Patterson said. About how he got better. Sarah hasn't slept through the night in months. The doctors say it's stress, but the medicine isn't helping. Marcus looked at Sarah, a thin girl with dark circles under her eyes. What do you think, Sarah? Do you think your body remembers how to feel safe? Sarah shrugged. I don't know. Maybe. That night, Marcus called Elena. She came to the garage and sat with Sarah, teaching her the words that help the body remember peace. Your nervous system remembers how to be calm, Elena told Sarah. Your mind remembers how to rest. Your body remembers what safety feels like. Sarah learned to read the words to herself. Within 2 weeks, she was sleeping through the night. Then came Mr. Jackson, the retired teacher who'd been battling depression since his wife's death. Then Maria Santos, whose arthritis had kept her from playing piano for 2 years. Elena began holding informal sessions at the garage, teaching people the words that helped the body remember what health felt like. She called it healing circles, though Marcus thought it looked more like a very unusual support group. We're not treating diseases, Elena explained to the small group that gathered every Thursday evening. We're helping the body remember what it's supposed to do. We're reminding ourselves that healing is possible. Dr. Chin heard about the garage sessions and came to investigate. She found a dozen people sitting in folding chairs, reading words to their bodies and to each other. Mr. Rivera, she said afterward, I'm not sure what you're doing here, but I'm seeing patients who are improving in ways that don't follow any medical protocol I know. People are remembering how to heal themselves, Marcus said. That's not how medicine works. Maybe medicine is bigger than we thought. Dr. Chin studied Elena's notebook, filled with words in multiple languages and healing scripts that had been passed down through generations. Has anyone studied this? Documented the results? People have been using these words for centuries, Elena said. Maybe it's time for your medicine to catch up with ours. 6 months after Diego's recovery began, Marcus and Vincent Ashford signed a new contract. A partnership that preserved the garage while developing the surrounding land into a mixed-use complex. The garage became the anchor tenant of a community center that included a health clinic, a counseling center, and a community garden. Elena's healing circles moved into a dedicated space, formally recognized as a complementary wellness program. It's not alternative medicine, Dr. Chin explained to her colleagues at the hospital. It's expanded medicine. We're treating the whole person, not just the disease. Diego returned to school, to soccer, to handing Marcus tools and asking endless questions about engines and life and the mysteries of healing. Dad, Diego said one afternoon, why do you think those words worked when the medicine didn't? Marcus looked at his son, healthy and strong, and full of the curiosity that had always defined him. I think the medicine worked too. But maybe healing needed something more than medicine. Maybe it needed love and belief and words that reminded your body what it was supposed to do. Do you think Elena's grandmother really passed down those words? I think Elena's grandmother passed down something even more important than words. She passed down the belief that healing is possible, that our bodies know how to be healthy, that sometimes we just need to remember. Diego nodded, then picked up a wrench and handed it to Marcus. Like how you taught me about engines. You didn't just show me how to fix what was broken. You showed me how engines are supposed to work. That's exactly right, Mio. Sometimes healing isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about remembering what was always supposed to work. If this story has reminded you that healing might be simpler and more powerful than we've been taught, I want you to do something. Share this story with someone who needs to remember that their body knows how to heal itself. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. A year later, Rivera Auto Repair had become more than a garage. It was a community center where people came to fix their cars and their lives, where healing happened in the spaces between engine repairs and oil changes. Elena still held her healing circles every Thursday evening. The group had grown to include doctors, teachers, construction workers, and retirees, people from all walks of life who had discovered that healing was bigger than medicine, deeper than treatment, more powerful than any single approach. The body remembers, Elena would tell new participants. It remembers what healthy feels like. It remembers how to be strong. It remembers how to heal itself. Sometimes it just needs someone to remind it. Marcus would watch these sessions from his office, seeing people discover their own capacity for healing, watching them remember that they were more than their diagnoses, stronger than their symptoms, more resilient than they've been taught to believe. Diego, now 13 and healthy, had started learning Elena's words in their original languages. He wanted to understand not just what the words meant, but where they came from, how they'd been passed down through generations of healers who understood that medicine was bigger than science, that healing was deeper than treatment. "Dad," Diego said one evening, "I want to learn how to help other kids remember what I remembered." Marcus smiled. "Then we'll learn together." Because that's what healing really was. Not something done to you, but something remembered within you. Not a miracle from the outside, but a remembering from within.